Good evening everyone and welcome back to Monosodes, the episodes about Pokémon. And today we've got a very special video because we're focusing on Pokémon Contests, an all too often overlooked part of the Pokémon experience and, I would say, extremely underrated from an artist point of view, because they highlight some of the many different ways a Pokémon can appeal to someone. Whether that's through being beautiful, clever, cool, tough, or cute. And of course it takes more than one person to hold a contest, so we've coordinated with 4 other artists to turn these contest conditions into Pokémon. In the blue corner, Lava Tyrant will be answering the question of what is beauty. In green, Jotun Reels will be putting that grey matter to use with cleverness. Lewiside will be chilling in the red corner and following the rule of cool. When the going gets tough, the Sterninator will get going in yellow. Which leaves me in the pink corner to turn up the charm with cute. We've also made things just a bit more interesting and added the extra criteria that their Pokémon needed to share a colour with their respective condition. You'll see what that means soon enough, as we pass things over to the Mahagari region guru. So kick this thing off, Lava!
Good morning, stars. My name is Lava Tyrant, but you can call me Z. For my design, I had to work with 2 words, blue and beauty. When it comes to those words, there are quite a few ways to take the concept. However, the main roadblock came with the unfortunate truth that beauty is subjective. Like, look at Milotic for instance. Canonically, it may be one of the prettiest Pokemon, but I personally don't find it appealing. So I had to take a different approach, a more biblical approach. By that I mean angels, specifically drawing from how beauty is often alternatively described as angelic. As for the blue, given I had already decided to go with the angelic route, there was but one answer: Blue Dragon Sea Slug. Yeah, alright, saying it out loud, my thought process probably sounds dumb, but let's just get onto the mons themselves to show you what I mean. Starting off with Sluglical, from slug and biblical. Given this design as a first stage, I had a bit of a hard time, so you probably noticed that I had already designed the evolution and worked my way backwards. Most importantly though, I wanted to lay the groundwork for the focal aspects of the designs, the blue angel wings that look like the fins of a blue dragon sea slug, and this mysterious red gem which currently takes up a major part of the body. Anyways, here's Sluglical, the beauty Pokemon. These tiny Pokemon have a deceptive beauty. They use their vibrance to draw in other Pokemon and people, which allows it to inflict fatal toxins upon them. That's right, this Pokemon is a water poison type, because the blue dragon slugs are extremely poisonous. At this point in the line, Sluglical is not only angelic in beauty, but also immensely dangerous thanks to the poisons it holds within the red gem, whether knowingly or unknowingly. But soon enough, it is able to grow into not 1, but 2 evolutions that better differentiate their ideals. So, if you, somehow, max out the friendship of this poisonous slug, it evolves into Diviniticus. From Divinity and Glaucus Atlanticus, the scientific name of the slug. Fun fact, the Blue Dragon Sea Slug, or BDSS because I'm not saying that name multiple times again, gets its poison from other poisonous sea creatures, like the Manowars. So in theory, it has the ability to draw in and siphon another's poison, similar to how an angelic deity may have the ability to take one's sins. You picking up what I'm putting down? Well, if you aren't, the deck should make it clearer, for you to better understand. Diviniticus, the beauty Pokemon. Upon evolution through a strong bond, Sluglicals learn to harness their red gem to consume poisons and deadly toxins. As such, more recently various Pokécenters have begun using the assistance of Diviniticus. However, they still possess the ability to use their poison stings. True beauty lies in the heart, and that is evident here, as in spite of its harmful nature, the angelic Sluglocal evolves to use its powers for good. The design, of course, now draws from the biblical angels, honestly fitting given what the BDSs look like. The red gem shortens and finds its way near the neck, and while this is an unintentional reference, the gem placement doubles as a reference to Shiva, and how he stores the dangerous Holahol poison in his neck so that it doesn't destroy everyone. But of course, I mentioned that Diviniticus is not the only evolution. In the wilds exists another, far more dangerous evolution. One that has lived a lonely life as it poisons all that is around it. This evolution is called Diablenia. If Diviniticus is a biblical angel, Diablenia is the devil, which is fitting as Lucifer is often considered the most beautiful of the angels. The red gem has lost its color in this form, as now Diablenia covers itself in said poison, which has long since become a far more scary substance. Dragon essence, as this form becomes poison dragon type. Funnily enough, however, this form is based on a different, very not poisonous slug, the French Iodenia. Thank you, Google, for misinformation, but I like the design too much to change it, so here it is. Diablenia, the beauty Pokemon. Sluglicals left in isolation evolve into the dangerous Diablenia. They draw in other Pokemon with tantalizing colors, only to strike them with their poison-tipped horns. No cure is known for its toxins. Given the uncurable nature of the poison, you probably ought not to catch this one, lest you wish to gamble upon a deal with the devil. I don't really know how an in-party evolution would be implemented for this one. Instead, I'm imagining more so that it will be found in the wild. But regardless, there you have it, my blue beauties. The innocent Sluglocal that wields a deadly power, and its evolutions, Diviniticus and Diablenia, the Heavenly Angel and the Fallen Angel. I am personally quite happy with these designs and their concepts, and I hope you like them too. Huge thanks to Priscellion for having me on. And with that said, back to you.
Thank you, Lava. And if you think Diviniticus and Diablenia are a picture of beauty, good news, everyone. You get to be the judge. Leave some blue heart emojis in your comment if you love these two, and subscribe to Lava Tyrant for more. Next up is Jotun Reels, who will be competing in cleverness. Let's see what that brain cooked up.
Hey guys, Jotun Reels here. When I was told my prompt of cleverness, I was very confused, just to say the least. And needing to pair up cleverness with the color green? This threw me for a loop. I struggled to get a concept at first, but eventually thought of a clover. You know, those 3-leaved, sometimes 4-leaved plants. Well, I started looking into the ideas, and stumbled across the kitsune, or fox yokai. The concept felt too simple, till I found something out. Riddle me this, viewer. What family does the clover belong to? That's right, it's the legume family. You know, like peanuts and peas? Let's get into the drawing. I started with some simple pudgy dog/fox designs, with the 3 clover leaves as its multiple kitsune tails. They have a patch of fur above their tails that will become a 4th leaf if it's shiny, making the famous 4-leaf clover. I added some pale spots to hint towards the future peanut inspiration, but for the first stage it is basically just a pudgy fox. Its evolution, however, starts to have some fun aspects added on. Firstly, it retains the 4-leaf shiny thing, but now slightly resembles more of a coattail. Secondly, the peanuts are most prevalent in its shoes and puffy sleeves, which houses its real arms, which are way smaller than what it pretends they are. The clover stems act as extendable limbs that it uses as these faux arms. This level of deceit ties into its next aspect, which is that it is now also inspired by a con man or scam artist. It lies in tricks for personal benefit, pulling clever tricks and persuasion to convince you of buying something that definitely wasn't worth it. Very inspired by Usohachi from One Piece. Its cheek tufts and chin fluff resemble the clover leaves around its body. I made the first stage as shiny be a snowy fox, as well as the 4 leaves, and for the evolution, I made the 4 leaves plus having a frozen icy blue. Here is Clovix, the Clover Fox Pokemon, from Clover and Vixen, the female name of a fox. A grass type. This little Pokemon likes to relax in large fields and packs. Their personalities can vary from very friendly to aggressive, but they tend to be friendly more often and can live almost anywhere with grass growing. While rare, there have been reports of some Clovix distracting pedestrians in order to try and get free gifts. Let's evolve it, shall we? Here is Foxtort, the clever fox Pokemon, from Fox and Extort, or to obtain something unfairly, a grass and dark type. Foxtort, while rarer than Clovix, tend to be more conniving. They put on large spectacles in populated areas, trying to persuade their watchers into giving them valuables and other desired items. Their actual arms are very short, residing within their tough arm casings with the protruding plant stems that they use like limbs and hands. All in all, I am very happy with how these 2 designs turned out. Thanks again, Procelion, for letting me take part in this Fakemon collaboration.
And thank you, Jotum. You know the drill, judges. Drop some green hearts in the comments section if Clovix and Foxtort massage your brain wrinkles, and show Jotum your support. Our man of the multiverse, Luicide, is up next. Show him what coolness looks like.
Howdy folks, it's me, Luicide! Let's make a Fakemon! So, the prompt Procelion gave to me was cool. Now, I was going to make a Fakemon based off myself, but then I realised that another secondary prompt, you could say, was the main colour of the Fakemon had to be red. Now, I don't know about you, but hearing the words cool and red, to me, immediately made me think of Cool Spot. For those who don't know, Cool Spot was an old mascot for the drink 7-Up. And if you don't know what 7-Up is, it's like, I want to say lemonade, but I think like lime's in it. It's like a fizzy lemon and lime drink, what I think is owned by Coke. What is Cool Spot? It is what that is. It's a cool spot. It doesn't have anything special to it. It's just it's a dot with sunglasses. It is undeniably cool though. So I wanted to kind of design a Fakemon inspired by Cool Spot, since that embodied the coolness and the colour red. So I kind of wanted to make a design what isn't literally a soda pop mascot, but kind of like it's a natural creature what kind of blends itself to commonly being used as a mascot for soda pop brands. Kind of like how polar bears are commonly seen on advertisements for like ice cream or mints or something, right? Because they live in a cold climate, they advertise things that are typically cold or cool. I want to make a creature what is commonly related to soda pop and partying and having a good time, that it's commonly seen advertising products that also make a cool, fun time. I also wanted to find a way how I could incorporate the Cool Spot sunglasses into the creature's anatomy. I didn't want to just have it wear sunglasses, I want it to be a real creature what just looks like it's wearing sunglasses, you know? At first I was thinking of making it like a sentient slime monster, but instead of it literally being slime, it's like a soda slime. That then kind of turned into a soda slug slime monster, and that then kind of evolved into an axolotl soda slime monster. Why? Because axolotls are pretty cool animals. Plus they have external gills around their head what at least to me, I could make goopy versions of what could wrap around the creature's face to look like sunglasses. Which also works because axolotls don't have eyelids, apparently. So the idea of having an appendage what wraps around its eyes doesn't only work at making it look like it's got sunglasses, it also literally has a function to keep the creature's eyes moist because, well, it can't blink. Plus, another fun fact about axolotls is they have the largest genome ever sequenced, which is basically its DNA structure. For some reason, axolotls have just a giant sequence of DNA, which to me I thought was interesting because if I'm making this like a semi-slime monster, the idea is maybe it's not slime, it's just the fact that it's literally made up of, well, genomes, DNA blobs, you know, it's literally a blob of DNA. This creature has the largest DNA genome because it is the DNA genome, you know? Which also works because I wanted to make the external gills look a bit goopy, and when they do, the top and bottom gills almost look like a chromosome. So not only is it cool in parties, it's also cool in a science lab. This guy is cool anywhere. Speaking of scientists, the idea is that maybe its sunglasses also work as protective goggles. Like, this creature is the perfect, no matter what location, whether it's with like jocks or nerds, it blends in. Which is just like soda. No matter who you are, you can enjoy a can of soda. And we all know objectively like cherry soda is just like the best one. It's at least the coolest one. Another fun fact I learned was that axolotls can also change their skin colour. Which, although may not play into this design specifically, the idea that it's a soda slime creature, the idea that this creature could also change its colours, maybe based on its diet kind of thing, which would also maybe be different flavours of soda. That could be a kind of cool thing. I was also kind of struggling on what its tail could be, because I feel like having a heavy tail kind of ruined the whole sleek, cool vibe of the design. I ended up just going with a goop of soda, what it just generates endlessly. I guess the idea is, although this is a slime DNA gloopy creature, it tastes like soda pop. And it's good for you. The idea is obviously it's DNA you're ingesting, so it kind of, maybe the idea is that if you're injured to some degree, it can help regenerate cells for you, because it is just a glop of DNA, you know? So maybe it could affect other people's DNA in a positive way. And obviously, if you take a bite, or I guess a sip out of it, because it's soda, it regenerates, because just like real axolotls, this creature can also regenerate limbs. I always like how, despite having a lot of axolotl in the design element, it doesn't really resemble one entirely. I kind of wanted to go for that vibe of like a licky tongue or a slowpoke, where it's like, it has elements what are clearly inspired by other creatures, but when you look at it just head on, it really doesn't really resemble anything, you know? So yeah, here is Isabopple. Its name being a kind of silly one. When you're at a party and you're hearing a nice song, it's common that people would say, it's a bop. And obviously Isabopple sounds like axolotl, so it's a silly design, but this creature's too cool to care about it. Now, I don't know about you, but looking at Isabopple, I really like its vibe of like, it looks like a Pokédex filler more than a first form, if that makes sense. Like, it fits in with the Shuckles or the Farfetches, where it's like, they don't really need an evolution. Their design is just to, you know, fill out the Pokédex a little bit. So, instead of making an evolution for Isabopple, I wanted to make a pre-evolution. Usually when making Fakemon, I typically always design the first form first, so I thought it would be kind of interesting to design a regular Fakemon and then design a pre-evolution for it after the fact. Especially because, unlike most amphibians, like frogs, let's say, where they start as a tadpole, but when they become a frog, they lose a lot of those aspects from being a tadpole, like their tail. Unlike that, axolotls actually keep basically all of their things they had when they was a baby, which I thought could be interesting developing a pre-evolution for this guy, where at least all of the obvious attributes, like its external gills kind of thing, I could keep in this design, but just clearly premature to what it would eventually be when it evolves, you know? Especially with Isabopple, again, it looks like an axolotl, but it's realistically just a blob of DNA. A baby form could almost be like stem cells, where it's just a blob of undecided DNA yet. It doesn't fully know what it's going to be. I also like the idea of, obviously, it's got two connecting gills to form the sunglasses, and as a baby, instead of being on its face, it's on top, which kind of create the form of like headphones. Again, because it's just a little baby, it's not ready to party out and everything, it wants to just listen to calming tunes to itself. It's not obvious in the sketch, but I also like the idea of giving it like tired eyes. Again, like, whilst the evolution is a bopple, enjoys partying and making loud noise, this is clearly a baby what, although it wants to stay up and party, it's too young to, so it struggles to stay awake. Also, I'm looking at the sketch phase right now. I didn't realise how goopy coded this looks. Goopy? Is that the name? Yeah, it's Goomy. Sorry, Goomy fans. Jeez. I also gave it a little marking on its face, mostly because without the sunglasses, it's got a lot of dead space, and plus when it's there, it creates the illusion of a music note, which again relates to music, partying, soda, you know. I understand the pre-evolution looks very much nothing like Isabopple, and that's kind of on purpose. I wanted to kind of create the vibe of a different generation pre-evolution, right? Kind of like how in Generation 4, a lot of the pre-evolutions clearly look like Generation 4 Pokemon and not the same generation their evolutions were made. Bonsly doesn't look like a Generation 2 Pokemon, you know? Here, I wanted the baby to look very clearly designed with different design elements, but still clearly related in some way, you know? Here is Axolotl. You know, Axolotl, little, it's just a little guy. I was going to call it something like Sipple, because obviously a little bit of soda is just a sip. But if the main form's called Isabopple, Axolotl, you know, we're going kind of silly with this design anyway. I feel like we go to full mile. So boom, here is my cool, mostly red Fakemon, Isabopple and Axolotl. I hope you like them both. And I hope Procelion likes them. Obviously, this is all Procelion's video. I'm in a Procelion video. I made it. You would have thought. Anyway, I'll see you all later, folks. Toodaloo. Bye.
And a thank you to Lewiside. Would you hang with Axolotl and Isabopple? Comment some red hearts below and subscribe to Lewiside. Up next is a very special guest who needs no introduction, so I won't give him one. Alright, it's the Sterninator with Tough.
So my prompts were yellow and tough, and when I think of yellow and tough, my brain immediately goes to construction worker, specifically like the 1930s and 40s construction worker type of trope. You know, the guys who sit on the beams and have their lunch, whistle at the ladies as they walk by, big yellow hard hat, white tank top, that whole type of spiel. But given that I am more familiar with what I assume is a construction worker analog, that being loggers living near Yosemite National Park, I wanted to go that direction, keeping in mind the same motifs that I was going with construction worker, but applying that to a logger type of Pokemon. And when we're thinking of yellow, and we're thinking of toughness, and we're thinking of logging, I start to think of beavers. Very interesting little animals. They cut down trees, much like loggers do, and have a penchant for being a little bit more territorial. So I wanted to create something that brought all of those ideas into play. But there's more to this story, isn't there? The idea of a construction worker, as well as many other blue-collar jobs, is that you're able to go up the line of leadership, starting out as a journeyman. So here, I really wanted that journeyman or grunt type of aesthetic. The idea and lore of these characters is that these are the ones who work for the big guy. They take command from their evolution, and I wanted that to play into not just the design of the character, with them being a little more simple, wearing those hoods, wearing those protective goggles, and having these lesser tools with this plain paddled tail, but also play into the demeanor of the Pokemon itself. Make him feel like he's just kind of been squashed and stepped on, and I love him for it, but let me know what you think. So this is Bjourney. I love this little dude. I wanted to stay away from Bidoof and Bibarel type of aesthetic, so I went ahead and made him a water electric type, especially given the idea of how electric and power tools have really allowed this industry to flourish and work a little bit more vibrantly. One of the big aspects of this design is that it has your plain standard beaver tail, whereas its evolution will get something a little bit more useful here. I picture just kind of getting the training. Its paddled rubbery tail is kind of like its training tool. But next up, we gotta work on the big guy, the one who this little guy evolves into. And this is where we really get to play into that construction worker type of energy. I even went about trying to figure out how to give this guy a big mustache, but it just kept feeling a little bit too cartoony. There were other aspects that were already playing into this idea more, and I had to decide where to draw that line, where I was gonna stop being as cartoony and start making the character more realistic in how they function. I decided that I would get rid of the mustache a little bit later in the process and keep up and play up the idea of those mutton chop type fur patterns on the sides of the face, as well as really work to reincorporate that suspender type of feel that we first saw introduced in the previous form, now playing in a little bit heavier, even giving him an ill-fitting shirt where his belly is kind of exposed. I decided to play up the colors a little bit, playing around with what I could here, trying to figure out how I wanted these colors to lay without being too insanely loud, but still providing a lot of that prompt, making yellow a primary color of the design while still allowing this to feel like your typical beaver. So, a lot to juggle there, a lot to throw around, but hopefully something that ends up coming together really well. One of the biggest aspects that I knew I had to do from the very beginning was evolve that tail, and if we're working with a logger style Pokemon, why not evolve that rubbery tail into a chainsaw? Make him just a little bit more adapted to his work. And man, it is so much fun. I feel like it gives such a cool silhouette to this Pokemon, and I'm really excited to see what you guys think. So this is Bevetter. The name comes from Beaver and Veteran. He is still a water electric type, with that electric coming from that hard angled type of chainsaw. Could he have been steel type? Absolutely, but I really wanted to play with some of those out-of-the-box type combinations that we're able to see and apply them here to this Pokemon. I really like the way that he turned out. I feel like he really sticks the landing between being really cartoony and really able to fulfill what the job of the design is. He feels tough and he feels yellow, and that's basically the only two prompts that we had to fulfill, and I feel like this one goes above and beyond.
Thank you, Stone. Do you think Bjourney and Bevetter can tough it out? Leave some yellow hearts in the comment and check out the Stoninator's channel. And lastly, wrapping up this video with cute. It's me! I need to get into position. For my prompt, I was presented with making a cute Pokemon that is also pink, which immediately presents a challenge because so many Pokemon already fit that niche, and I didn't want to make something that would overlap too much. So I started researching what could potentially cause something to turn pink. I eventually settled on doing something with strawberries, since food items that would normally be white are turned a very distinct pink colour when strawberry flavouring is added, including ice cream, milk pudding, and sorbet. Not a bad start, but it's still not a fleshed out concept yet. I needed to add another layer. That's when I stumbled across a condition called erythrism, which is very similar to leucism or melanism, except instead of turning things white or black, erythrism is caused by an increase in red pigment, turning brown animals into this burnt orange colour, and turning white parts of animals pink, such as this one recorded example of a manta ray. Now things were starting to fall into place, and I finally had a concept. I decided to base my first stage on a baby manta ray crossed with a bowl of sorbet, because the idea of a sorbet ray was just too perfect to ignore. In my research, I learned that when a manta ray is born, they have their fins tucked around their body, which is not only adorable, but gave me a great opportunity to shape the wings to form a bowl wrapped around a sorbet-shaped body. The finishing touches were using a manta ray's cephalic fins to mimic the garnishes on top of sorbet, and obviously some cute round cheeks. And here's Sorbet, the strawberry Pokémon, from Sorbet and Ray. Fairy type. Sorbet wraps its wings around itself to protect its soft body. It produces a sweet sugary powder that can be used to make confections. But of course, Sorbet is only a baby manta ray, and babies, well, they tend to grow up. So where do we take it from here? We gotta let the kid spread his wings, man. We gotta unwrap those pectoral fins and flatten the body to make the evolution a platter for the sorbet to go on, so the second stage can carry the first. For the head decorations, I took inspiration from the sweet Pokepuffs, complete with a cherry on top, and some stubby limbs on the underside separate it from Mantine and Togekiss a bit, as well as making sure that it can be flat while moving on land as well, as a living platter would be. So here is Manta Ray, the strawberry Pokémon, from Manta Ray and Fruit Puree, the main ingredient in sorbet. Fairy type. Manta Ray are usually found carrying clusters of sorbet on their backs. The sweet bulbs on their head are considered a delicacy. And there you have it. 2 cute pink strawberry rays. Strawberries, if you will. And if you agree that Sorbet and Manta Ray are cute, leave some purple hearts in the comments, and of course, hit the subscribe button right here. A huge thank you to all the artists who made this video possible. And as always, I have been Procelion, and I hope to see you again, right here, on Monosodes.